Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Chiron unaspected in a natal chart. Now, some people may not think that that's really that significant or big of a thing, or be apathetic about this because it's not a planet and it's not the MC or the ascendant. Well, Chiron can still, being unaspected, can be somewhat strong, I believe. Chiron, by house placement, I believe, does have an effect on others as far as the wounds and that this person may receive as far as emotional, traumatic wounds by sign a little bit, but as I've stated before, by sign, I think it's less significant because it traverses a sign on average about 4 to 5 years. So house placement, I think, is a lot stronger though. And as with planets, I believe the same principle applies. You have somebody with an unaspected Chiron in their natal chart. Well, there may be a little bit more emphasis on this. There might be a feeling, because it's isolated, it's kind of in its own desolate spot, this person might feel very encumbered by the emotional wounds that he or she has received and feel that they're not really getting perhaps much support from another in dealing with it, and they have to deal with this perhaps at least in their own mind in connection with solitude. Now, this could be somebody who may have some more difficulty than the average person dealing with their emotional wounds due to the fact you don't have any aspects, you don't have any positive aspects such as sextiles and trines that would help perhaps find an outlet maybe for this. And however, Chiron by house placement and sign can indicate that ability to help others in that particular area that person is dealing, as far as that person dealing with emotional wounds. Now, let's say, if you have Chiron unaspected on the positive side, could be somebody that feels like they're like this perpetual healer. They may feel a compulsion to constantly help others and do things to help them in terms of their emotional wounds and dealing with them. At the same time, there might be a propensity to put theirs on the back burner and not take care of them, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the overcompensation due to the fact that the person may be putting so much emphasis on helping another person in terms of dealing with their emotional wounds that they may neglect themselves, and obviously that could be to their detriment. With a person, unaspected Chiron or not, really needs, I think the important thing is recognizing their emotional wounds and in dealing with it as far as their house placement and sign goes, and then they would have better capability of helping the others in this particular area. Now, I'm going to take an example. I have Chiron in Aries in the 12th house. Now, it could indicate, as far as for me, if I had, let's say I had it unaspected. Well, let's take it by itself first. Now, Chiron in the 12th house could indicate wounds perhaps that are somewhat self-inflicted, the person's undoing, things that are as far as connected with restrictions and limitations. Now, Aries being the fact that it's an aggressive sign, it could indicate that maybe I don't have that ability, or I should have difficulty perhaps showing that assertiveness, that aggression in terms of confronting my restrictions and limitations, or perhaps I might be dealing with emotional wounds due to some kind of perhaps some anger, which I don't really see for me, but I'm saying as a possibility. It could deal with something where the person was acrimonious or showed some acrimony towards something, and it might have been to their own undoing, such as someone losing their temper and walking out of a job, for example, would be an example of this. Now, if it's unaspected though, it can make it more difficult for that person to deal with these kind of wounds, and at the same time, the person, like say in my instance, unaspected or not, Chiron and Aries in the 12th house may help others in terms of using that assertiveness, that aggression in helping them deal with their confronting their limitations, their restrictions, and things that they had problems with that were associated, perhaps that were self-inflicted, that were the person's undoing, and perhaps maybe looking at dreams and ideals. Maybe as far as pursuing, as far as the dreams go, and perhaps even literal dreams as well, that maybe this person would like to realize and come to fruition. So as far as but if it's unaspected, it could put even more of an emphasis on the person doing this and and as far as attempting to heal others in connection with the sign and house placement that Chiron would be in. Now, if somebody were to say had Chiron in the 4th house, now if someone had Chiron in the 4th house unaspected, well, firstly, Chiron in the 4th could indicate somebody that may have experienced some emotional wounds in connection with the home, family, their emotional security. Now, this person may be really adept at helping others in this area and helping them perhaps through reconciliation with another person's family and helping that person mend wounds with their home and family life, but they may have difficulty in doing this for themselves. Well, if it's unaspected, those things may be even more emphasized, and the wounds might be a little bit harder for that person to cope and deal with. And also, there might be even a greater emphasis and intensity on helping others in this manner, because you have that uninhibited, unrestrained energy. At the same time as with the planets, you might have some vacillation or distortion with this energy, because due to the fact, I believe, because you could be expending so much at one time. As with planets, you expend so much at one time, and what happens is a lot of times you don't have that energy to do it for a protracted period of time, so it's going to act in spurts and be sporadic as well. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Chiron unaspected in the natal chart, and stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about, when I start talking about emphasis of an element in a person's horoscope, and I'm going to start talking about people that have an emphasis of water in their natal charts. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel, and secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.